Federalist Number 10, written by James Madison in 1787. Now, you have probably heard this text mentioned in the school or in political debates, but very few people actually understand why it is such a big deal, why scholars still call it the most celebrated essay in American political thought, why it continues to explain polarization, factionalism, and democratic instability today in the age of social media and global politics. Federalist 10 isn't just a historical document, it's a psychological analysis of human nature. It's a theory of conflict. It's a blueprint for stable self government. And to be honest, it's more relevant today than when it was written. In this episode, we're unpacking the world that produced this essay, the dangers that Madison saw, the solutions he proposed, and the philosophical worldview that underpins his thinking. This is the story of why democracies tear themselves apart and how Madison tried to stop it. Federalist 10 begins with one of the most powerful ideas in political philosophy, which is the greatest threat to the liberty is not foreign kings, not tyrants, but factions. So, what exactly is a faction? Madison defines it precisely, quote, a number of citizens united by some common impulse of passion or interest adverse to the rights of other citizens or to the permanent and aggregate interests of the community. So, a faction is a group united by shared interest or strong emotions whose goals harm the common good or violate others' rights. A faction could be a wealthy minority, an angry majority, a political party, a religious group, a regional interest, a populist movement, or even a mob. Madison was observing something profound when he said that politics is not a conflict between good and evil, but between competing interests. He believed factions are not accidents, they are inevitable, they emerge from the human nature itself. Why? Because people have different talents, passions, economic interests, values, beliefs, and personal histories. And from these differences, political conflict naturally arises. In Madison's words, the leading cause of the faction are sound in the nature of a man. In other words, human beings are built for disagreement. Trying to eliminate disagreement is like trying to eliminate the gravity. Now, the question is that can we remove the factions? Madison says no. Why? Well, Madison considers two ways to destroy factions. The first, if you destroy the liberty. If people are not free, they cannot form factions, but then you don't have republic. You have tyranny. Madison famously compares this to destroying air because it fuels fire. You solve the fire, of course, but everyone suffocates. And the second way is to make everyone think the same. And this is impossible. Even if everyone had access to the same information, their interests would differ. And Madison is clear. Reason is not the main driver of political opinion. Interests shape beliefs. James Madison says the rich and the poor interpret the laws differently. The merchants and the farmers interpret trades differently. Debtors and creditors interpret financial policies differently. So forcing uniformity is both impossible and undesirable. There is no world without factions. The goal is not to eliminate them, but to control their effects. And this becomes Madison's mission. Well, he's not worried about the small factions. He believes that minorities can't dominate the democracy. It is the majority factions that he's concerned about. The large, passionate groups capable of using democracy itself to commit injustice. When the majority becomes the tyrant, it could become the nightmare for any country or republic. Democracy becomes dangerous when 51% of people, driven by passion, unified by anger, or interest, decide to impose their will without protecting minority rights. If we take the examples from the Madison's time, when states passing debtors relief laws that cheated creditors, or states seizing property, states attacking minority religious groups, or the states targeting economic minorities. To Madison, state governments were too small. Local passions could quickly become dominant. Mob energy could sweep through a small republic and turn it irrational. So the problem he wants to solve is this. How do you stop democratic majorities from destroying liberty? And his answer is revolutionary. His first solution, a large republic. The classical philosophers like Aristotle believed that republics must be small. Small size meant shared identity, shared culture, shared interests, easier communication, more unity. Madison rejects this completely. He flips the logic upside down. He argues that large republics are safer than smaller ones. Why? More diversity. In a big country, more religions, more economic classes, more occupations, more cultural differences, more religious identities. This means no single interest group can easily dominate. A large country slows down political mobs. Passion can't spread as easily across great distances. Differences create friction. Extremism gets diluted. So it is harder for the factions to coordinate. And in the large republics, there will be more competition, and that is what James Madison believes. The more factions there are, the less likely any one of them rules. The more they must negotiate, the more they must compromise. This is Madison's brilliant insight. He believes that pluralism protects liberty. He uses a geometric metaphor, extends the sphere, makes the republic larger, and the problem of faction becomes manageable. The United States is not an accident. Its size is a political mechanism. The second solution James Madison provides is representative democracy instead of direct democracy. In direct democracy, everyone votes on every issue. Sounds pure, but Madison believed it leads to passion dominating reason, mobs taking over, sudden swings in policy, majorities crushing minorities. Representation, on the other hand, creates a filter. Representatives refine public opinions. Ideally, they're educated, reflective, independent, able to deliberate. They take raw public desires and turn them into the measured policies. If the republic is large, there will be more competition for office, more scrutiny, larger talent pool, harder for the local factions to capture the national legislature. A national representative must consider interests beyond their hometown. This discourages narrow faction driven laws. Madison believes that representative government transforms democracy from a chaotic force into a stable institution. Now, how the Constitution embedded Madison's theory. Madison's ideas are not abstract, they are woven directly into the architecture of the US Constitution. In a large federal republic, the national government governs all the states, not just one region. This automatically dilutes factions. The creation of House and Senate, the two chambers, slowed down factions driven laws. There are checks and balances. The executive, the legislative, and the judicial branches compete. Competition prevents domination. Power is divided. States retain power, federal government supervises national issues. Another layer of complexity that prevents any faction from capturing all power. The large districts produce better, broader representatives. The entire Constitution is essentially a machine for controlling faction conflict. So, has Madison been proven right? Let's fast forward 230 years. There are certain areas where Madison was right. Like the US survived enormous internal conflicts, factions exist but rarely destroy the system. Diversity has often prevented domination. Institutions slow down sudden political swings. Compromise, even though messy, remains essential. Even in the crises like Civil War, Great Depression, World Wars, Civil Rights Movement, the system has endured. On the other hand, there are certain things that he miscalculated, like national political parties formed. He never anticipated that. Media and social media unify passions instantly. Money forms powerful, organized factions. The population is no longer locally isolated. Ideological polarization crosses state boundaries. So, in short, modern technology shrinks the republic Madison tried to expand. Today, the faction can become national in seconds. Digital passion spreads instantly. Madison's distant buffer is collapsing. Yet, even with these challenges, a structure still restrains absolute domination. The Constitution is still functioning as a shock absorber. If we talk about the philosophy beneath the Federalist 10, James Madison shares the worldview of thinkers like Hobbes and David Hume. They believed humans are driven more by interest than reason. Conflict is natural. Governments must be built to manage, not eliminate human nature. Liberty requires structure. Power must be fragmented. Diversity stabilizes society. Madison wasn't designing a utopia. He wasn't trying to change people. He was trying to design a political system strong enough to contain our flaws. Federalist 10 is political realism at its finest. It's the acknowledgement that a disagreement is permanent, passions are unavoidable, and factions are inevitable. But with the right constitutional architecture, a republic can endure. And that ultimately is Madison's legacy. Thank you for listening to this exploration of Federalist number 10. If you enjoyed this political philosophy and constitutional design, make sure to join me for more future episodes where we keep uncovering the grand ideas that shape our world. Till next time.